chant some of the previous names of Pujya Gurudev, and we'll add one more name tonight. Om Purushottamaya Namaha.
Purushottamaya Namaha.
Om Prasannatmane Namaha.
Om Prasannatmane Namaha.
Om Prasaktirahitaya Namaha.
Om Prasaktirahitaya Namaha.
Om Bahubhaktaya Namaha.
Om Bahubhaktaya Namaha.
Om Bandhamochakaya Namaha.
Om Bandhamochakaya Namaha.
Om Brahmanisthaya Namaha.
Om Brahmanisthaya Namaha.
Om Brahmaparaya Namaha.
Om Brahmaparaya Namaha.
Om Bhayanashanaya Namaha.
Om Bhayanashanaya Namaha.
Om Bharata Gaurave Namaha.
Om Bharata Gaurave Namaha.
Gauravaya. Om Bharata Gauravaya Namaha.
Om Bharata Gauravaya Namaha.
Om Bharata Gauravaya Namaha.
Om Bharata Gauravaya Namaha.
Gaurava. Gaurava has several meanings in Sanskrit. So it's Bharata Gaurava, one who is the glory of Bharat. Bharata Gaurava, one who epitomizes what Bharat is. That will be the meaning that we have adopted. But it says in English, salutation to the one who is the pride of Bharat. Gauravam, pride, the glory, like that, the mahima, the greatness, all that. Also, Gaurav means one who is heroic, like that meaning also comes. So, the meaning we take is the one who epitomizes what Bharat is, what India represents. When you think about India, Mahatma Gandhi ji used to say, India is the cradle of all spirituality. Means to say all spirituality had their origin in India only, and spread all over the world, taken here, taken there, adopted here, adopted there, adapted there, and adapted there, here and there, and some of it misrepresented also along the way, misinterpreted and all sorts of things. I wonder. But he who really represents the essence of what India has to give the world, that is the idea. Bharata Gaurava. And the idea is, if you see any tall building, I don't know how many of you visited when they were building, Swamiji and the team was building that Hanumanji. Hanumanji is how much? 85 feet tall. You should have been there to see the foundation which they put down below. If you were to make anything tall, the foundation has to be really, really good, CN Tower and see these tall buildings and all, you go and see when they're doing that foundation. Amazing. So, if a nation is going to stand tall in the world, if a nation is going to persist and perpetuate itself and its culture and its teaching to the world and all that, the foundations have to be really solid. And the most solid foundation of any nation comes in its metaphysical understanding of things. Once we hold on to that, there is no perishing. When we hold on to superficial things, all the fleeting little, things, it is like writing on the ocean. You could write something on the ocean. Take a pen and write. Anything, you take ink and try to write something on the ocean. What will happen? The moment you write it also. And if you find the very essence of all things and you hold on to that, such a fundamental spirituality could never vanish. Sanatana Dharma, remember in 11th chapter we saw? Arjuna tells Bhagavan, 10th chapter, that you are the protector of this eternal Dharma. Lord is the protector. Good thing Lord is protector. If you put we to protect, then He is the protector. If we would one charge with protecting Sanatana Dharma only, that is gone long time. So, Shashvata Dharma Gopta, that was the phrase which we saw. The Shashvata eternal Dharma, Bhagavan is the protector. And that is epitomized by the saints and sages of India. And so they call it Bharata Gaurava. The ones who really represent what India has to offer to the world. Bharata Gaurava he is called. Okay. That's one more name we have seen. Now we have to jump to chapter 12, which is called Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga when we left it last night, we had just seen the first verse of this Bhakti Yoga. Anytime I plug this in, this computer misbehaving. Leave it. To A is human. To really mess things up, it takes a computer. See? Okay, I have enough. I have enough battery power. We'll chant Arjuna Uvacha. We'll chant the first verse of the 12th chapter. For those who are joining for the first time, please get out your Bhagavad Gita and turn to chapter 12. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Evam satatayuktaye bhaktastvam paryupasate. Chapyaksharamavyatam tesham te yogavetamaha. One of the most remarkable things about Hinduism is Hinduism teaches that you should never think that there is any such thing in this world as best people and worst people, best religion and worst religion. really speaking, things in the world, they are neutral. It is human beings who make them best and worst. Please pay attention to that. Fire is good or bad? Well, if the fire burning down this building or any building, terrible fire, we say, fire of dissolution. Kalanala, we saw in 11th chapter, fire of dissolution. And that fire, same fire which cooks food for us, we say it is so good. So something gains that appellation, good or bad, name of good or bad, only, or a characterization, only based on some relative consideration of something, right? Absolutely in itself, like knife is good or bad. Money. Mr. Ramkilavan say good. Things in the world really by themselves, they are neither good nor bad. See, religion has killed more people than all the wars put together. But the same religion has also freed so many. Same religion that teaches the name of Ram, Tulsidas, right? Ram ek tapas tiyatari. Ram jai Ram jai Ram. Naam ko tikhal bhumati sudhari. Ram ek tapas tiyatari. नाम को तिखल बhumati sudhari. Same religion has purified the minds of so many millions and brought moksha to them across so many millennia, eons. So the same religion has killed mercilessly in the name of that same religion, slaughtered. Today we're talking about crimes against humanity. Man, you're seeing nothing here. War crimes. Study the history of religion and you will know. War crimes to nothing. Pales into insignificance in front of the atrocities created by religion only. So religion is good or bad? No. Human beings make it good or bad. The teaching in Bhagavad Gita toes this line very strongly. Now Arjuna asked a question to Bhagavan. What is that question? He said, Prabhu, you tell me, people who worship you with form, you see, like we have various forms of and manifestations of Bhagavan in the temples wherever we go, right? So there are people who need that form to worship, and they come and they do, you know what you do? You make your offerings, you do your arati, you put chandan, mala, ityadi, pancha, upachar. You do all these things in temples. So you're worshipping the form of Bhagavan. But there are many people who don't pay any attention to this form. They say Bhagavan is nirguna, without form. He is absolute, limitless, infinite, attributeless reality, which is beyond names and forms. And they sit and they meditate, trying to empty the mind of all names and forms and all talking, and to merge in absolute peace and silence, which is boundless. Acha, theek hai. Arjuna is asking Prabhu, see, avyaktam pariyupasati, those who worship in an unmanifest, formless aspect. Tesham, among them, ke yoga vittamaha, that is the question. Who are the ones who are best among them? Now see, Arjuna is just like the ordinary jiva. He always wants the best. When you go in the market and you have a heap of cucumber, you always pushing some sauce, pushing your hand down, you see, and tomatoes especially. You want the best. So we have strongly in our mind worst and best. And some of these vendors and all, they get really angry. If it's in India, he get angry like, hey, what are you doing? He ask you, well, I'm selecting the best ones. No, we don't sell the best ones here. You have to take like that. And whatever come, good and bad, both. Really? They'll tell. They don't want you to come and just select. So, to avoid that, what they do, they themselves select the best and put it there and raise the price. But if all together, you just have to pick up like that. So, we always have this very strong feeling of this one is better and this one is not better. So that's what he is asking. The Jiva is asking that. Now see Bhagavan's, from Bhagavan's standpoint, right? From the standpoint of Ishvara, which is better and best. He is the manifesto of everything in the universe. Everything. Right? He has manifested everything in the universe, and so he knows that there's a purpose, a function for all things. So there's no better and best. But the Jiva always going on, which is better, which is best. And he goes on asking, Arjuna put Bhagavan in that position. No. Which is the better one? Those who worship with form or those who worship without form? This is Bhagavan's challenge now to answer this question. He has to stay in. we have put Bhagavan in Dharma Sankat, you know. Dharma Sankat it is called. Now see, Bhagavan replies. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Maya Veshamano Yema, Nitya Yukta Upasate. Bhagavan Uvacha. The Lord replies now to this very simple question. Very simple on the outside. Arjuna wants to know, like any ordinary jiva, better to worship God with form or without form. Because there is a big long standing battle also about this thing. You have to see. Like I told you long ago, if you go to some satsang, I remember, you go to some satsang, the old days, and this topic start with the whole night business, and I'm surely some of them leaving without eating anything. They get angry and all kind of thing. God is Nirguna, Saguna. Those are the words they used to use. Saguna, Nirguna. Without qualities or with qualities. That big argument. I told you also one more guiding principle in Hindu Shastras. What is that? You as a jiva are always in the habit of taking sides, right? This is the best, these are the worst, this is that, you want this side, you want that side, right? People always are in the habit of taking sides, and so we also think Bhagavan does take side, right? Second thing is, because we are so deeply engaged in taking sides, we think that means we make this mistake always of thinking that one excludes the other. In other words, in our mind, we make things exclusive. Like, if you're going north, you cannot be going south. Once you're going north, that excludes going south. In other words, we cannot see that the two can be possible at one and the same time. I mean, our vision is so poor. We cannot see that seemingly contradictory things are very much possible. That is our problem. But Bhagavan, from where he stands, see the man who is riding the bicycle on a busy street, very fast. For the people and him, that is a very fast moving vehicle. But if you are standing on a mountain top and you're watching that, he's moving like an ant. So he's moving fast or slow now? But the two things now seem to be possible. He's moving fast and slow at the same time. It depends on who is watching. Yeah? But today I see a nice one, man. You know why a bicycle could never stand up by itself? Because it's too tired. Too tired. Now Bhagavan had to toe the line of the rishis. No, rishis means the line which he set down for the rishis. The line of truth. Your limited mind only sees this exclusivity. If this one means if the people who worship Sagun Brahma, the absolute, the reality of form, then the other one not good. That means that less, this one better. That's how we see the world. Now see, Bhagavan has to now stay in the midst of these two things. See how wonderfully he does it also. Mai aveshya mano iye mam nitya yukta upasate shraddhaya parayopetaha teme yuktatama mataha. In my opinion, those who worship me with form, they supersede. Yuktatama. They are greater. Those who have great faith, shraddhaya paraya upetaha. My mind is imbued with great faith, and they worship me constantly with form. Mai aveshya mano ye mam nitya yukta upasati. Mai means in me, in Krishna. Means Krishna with form. Then immediately you say, well, look, see, Bhagavan don't take side. He said those people who worship with form, they are the best. Those who, the Nirguns Upasaka, they were nothing, man, I'm going dumb. Nirguna Upasaka, isn't it? It sounds like that, right? But wait. The next verse now starts. Yet too, however, You see, you just can't read this verse. Many people like to read this verse and stop. It means they read that verse and they stop. See, Bhagavan himself said, those who worship it form them better. I don't want to read anything more. He don't answer my question. Some people do that. I don't want to read anything more. My question was answered. I worship it form and you can't tell me anything. Bhagavan himself said, look. He said, yet to, however, those, aksharam, anirdeshyam, avyaktam, paryupasate. Those who worship that Lord without form, it's called aksharam. Imperishable reality is aksharam. Anirdeshyam. Anirdeshyam is that which cannot be pointed out, which cannot be identified. Now you see Murti, you see, you'll identify the Panchamukhi Hanuman, you'll come in down the Rama, you can identify all the forms, right? But Anirdeshyam means which cannot be identified. The absolute reality without attributes, without form, cannot be identified. It's called Anirdeshyam. So those who worship like that, who meditate on that, comes Avyaktam, who is unmanifest. So he said that however, those who worship this aspect of God, Paryupasate, Sarvatragam, that is all pervasive, Achintyam, unthinkable. Those who think about the unthinkable. Wonderful. Kutastham. Kutastham means that which is the foundation of all things in the, what is given in English for Kutastham? Unchangeable, yeah. Foundation, see, all the things on that foundation, they change, right? Like for example, buildings come and go. All kind of things come and go, right? That we build. But the foundation is earth. Does the earth come and go? That is Kutastha. With regard to all buildings and all, the earth is Kuta. Acharam, unmoving, stationary, still, absolute reality. Dhruvam, firm. That reality. Those who worship that reality, he says, Samniyamyendriya gramam, controlling all their senses, all the conglomerate of senses, and sarvatra samabuddha, keeping equilibrium, equipoise, all the time, everywhere. Te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hitirataha. They certainly achieve me. You know, I tell you, I know Bhagavan was a lawyer. You wouldn't believe. If you could really look at the Sanskrit words there and see his choices. Please let me go back over that with you again. You just look. Arjuna's question was, between the two, Tesham ke yoga vittamaha, who are greater yogis? Who are better? The ones who worship with form or without form, right? This is Arjuna. Bhagavan said, those people who worship with form, they're better. Right? But full stop. Then he takes two verses to tell those people who worship without form, they reach me. He said nothing about those who worship with form, you know. You see, this is how law is written, this is how lawyers also talk in court and all. Exactly. Those who worship without form, they reach me. What about those who worship with form? He said, no, just say they better. Now, between the two, now we better. You see? One lawyer asking a man in the court. He stand up in the witness box in a divorce case. Lawyer cross-examining this fella. Have you stopped beating your wife?
Answer yes or no.
Yes. Then no, answer yes or no. Have you stopped beating your wife? Now see this poor fellow's plight. If he say yes, that means he to beat his wife all the time. If he say no, he in more trouble now. See how he gonna hear you now. No, Bhagavan answered his question in such a way that you all know who best now. Because the one who he said best, he didn't say that he reached God. And the one who considered to be least, he said he reached God. Now who best? The lawyer, I tell you, he was a lawyer in his last, well, in all his life. Now, when we read it, right, we see, from our standpoint now, there is no conclusive answer there. So then we refer to, Guruji, what is the conclusive answer there then? Because our mind becomes bewildered there, if you really read the thing properly. So then that is why there is a tradition, a sampradaya, a guru parampara, that goes all the way back to Bhagavan himself. That is why it is there. Because somebody along the line would have asked, but Bhagavan, well, you really tell me nothing there, which is the best now, So the sampradaya, the parampara, the tradition, will tell very nicely now, well, the both are best. Because you jiva, with your little mind, you are always looking to put one up and put one down. But both are best. Why you always think that one has to be best? This is the teaching of the sampradaya. And in other words, since Bhagavan answered the question in such a way, you can get that interpretation from there also. That he himself did not want to give any conclusive answer, which would put one down and one up. So both are best. Bas. The good old traditional things of what? Which is best, apples or oranges? You see? People, have you heard this? Apples or oranges? Yeah. Well, how you come with an answer? Based on what? The two are best. You see? What a nice thing. In the lines also, are most wonderful directives for both the parts. Most wonderful words that Bhagavan chooses also. I tell you, the Lord, in one stroke of the pen, can achieve so many things. One stroke. And we, after making one stroke of the pen, trying to achieve one thing, we can achieve that too. Can achieve that one thing also. So while he is steering clear of any controversial statement, he is at the same time teaching a fundamental truth, that this exclusivity, which is so seemingly innate to a human being, this exclusivity has to be removed. And this is one of the biggest problems in religion today also. Religions are exclusive. My way or the highway. Yeah, exclusive. So what a most wonderful and fundamental teaching of this Sanatana Dharma. Then, at the same time, when he's talking about the Sagun worship and Nirgun worship, when he's talking about them, the words that he used to talk about them, he uses to talk about them, those words become the core principles of that path. So you see the first one. See, Mai Av, if you're going to worship Bhagavan with form, Mai Aveshya Mano Yema, means that mind should be on that form all the time. That mind should be immersed in that form. So he's giving the directive of the path also. Those who have their mind immersed in me, Nitya Yukta, means only worship me. Everything they see, like Tulsi Raji, everywhere he says, everywhere I look I see Ram. What to do? He sees Ram. He even went to, it is said that he went to Dwarka. Tulsidas ji went to Dwarka. And it is said that Lord Krishna himself appeared there before him. The Lord himself appeared before Tulsidas ji. So Tulsidas ji said, who are you? So Bhagavan said, well, you don't recognize my peacock feather or what? He said, no. What about my basuri? Put it out. You don't recognize that? He said, no. He said, right, look, me, I'm going to try again. I is Krishna. I'm Krishna. If you really? The only way I could believe you, if you appear as Ram. Bhagavan also had to bow to Tulsidas ji and appear as Ram. See. So even if he looks at Krishna, he sees Ram. Anywhere he looks, he sees Ram. This is Sagun Upasana. Whatever I look at in this world, I should see my Prabhu, my Hanuman, my Ram, my Krishna, whatever form you worship. That should be this most important thing in my life. Shraddhaya, Paraya Shraddhaya means with supreme Shraddha. When we translate Shraddha as faith in English, I feel so bad. Shraddha is something, so powerful. I have to translate only in English as faith, because there is no word for that. But supreme Shraddha, those people, I consider them to be excellent. Yuktatama, they are the greatest of the yogis. And stop. He's finished. But he's giving in the path also the directives, how the path ought to be followed. Then, yetu aksharam manirdeshama, he told you all of those words already. Those who worship the Lord as an imperishable reality, anirdeshyam, which cannot be pointed out, demarcated, which cannot be objectified. If you're looking at the philosophical meaning of that, God cannot be objectified. You cannot be defined. Anirdeshyam, avyaktam, which is the unmanifest reality. So all of these words, he says, te prapnuvanti mameva, they reach me only. Those people. So those are the ones who reach me. Well, they're looking like Devata now. You see? Those who worship Nirgun, that is the idea. Then he makes, after this is question over, the answer to that question, finish. Now commentary by Bhagavan. See. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Next page. I thought when I changed from the book to the computer, that problem would have solved. But the way this one is formatted in here, the problem is solved. I have to get a different format. So, commentary, then we'll see that verse just now. Bhagavan, Kleshaha, why the commentary necessary? He is now trying to rationalize why he said that those who worship him with form are better. The reply to that. Because you can't just say something, There's a wonderful thing about our tradition also. Please remember, one of the most important, Bhagavan himself will not say something which is unsubstantiated. The Lord himself. There is no such thing in Hinduism. Listen to it, accept it, believe it, and shut your mouth. There is no such thing in Hinduism. Pariprashnena sevaya. In this Gita itself we saw, we are supposed to ask questions. And Gurudev used to say, don't believe the thing just because the Swami said it. The longer the beard, the longer the suspicion. The greater the suspicion. Don't believe just because of that. Swami comes with a long beard and he wearing ochre robes and all. Because he wearing ochre robes and have a long beard, you go believe? Because the Shastra said, because the Lord, when he says something also, he substantiates what he has said, you see. So he said, those are the best. Those who are Sagun Upasak, means those who worship God with form. But why he said, see, ye too, Klesho adhikataraha tesham avyaktam asakta chetsam, means to say, it is very difficult to worship God without form. That is a very difficult thing. And so those people who try that, they get a lot of klesha. Klesha means terrible affliction, great difficulties they have in doing that. So it is best that people worship God with form. In 18th chapter, again he'll touch on this thing. So, it is best that you worship God with form. That is such a simple thing. Because worshipping God without form is very... And there are many people who claim to worship God without form, but if you check inside their head, those are the most mix-up ones. They have all kind of forms inside their head. Those people in the world who claim to worship God without form, those are the most mix-up ones. They have all sorts of crazy ideas about God. And what is that? God is such a terrible villain you wouldn't believe. He got strike you on the head, he's watching you, he's jealous, he's this, he's that, all kind of... Then you have an idea in your head of God as a villainous character. That is a form also. They don't realize. People who do that, that's why I said, Bhagavan said, Kleshaha adhikatara, means very difficult. Great difficulty comes in worshipping God without form. So better settle your mind on some form. That's why he says they are better. It means it is better from the standpoint of its applicability. It applies to more people than the other one. Those who worship without form, you see. So based on that, avyaktahi gatir dukkham, to worship that reality in the unmanifest is very difficult. What dehavad bhihi. You see how wonderfully in Sanskrit these words are put together, and the philosophical tradition teaches so nicely. It says, why? Because you have form. But if you have form, then it is easy for you to worship something with form. What a simple thing, and an absolute truth. You have a body. Therefore some great philosophers said, if men were cows, they would have thought that God had horns. Let me tell you something. It is no wonder that the major religions of the world are racist and sexist. It is no wonder. Why? Because the people who founded them were like that. People who founded them, they're like that. Founded by men, first of all. Excluding women. And founded by a certain race of men. So the religions are turned racist and sexist. So whatever we are, we think God is like that. That is the height of delusion. So, look, you're already in your, what it means to say, you're already in your deluded state, right? Start thinking about God with form. This is the best for you to do. This is the best. If people do this, this is the best. Start thinking about God with form and work your way through the form, through the idol, Guru used to say. Work your way through the form, through the idol to the ideal, which is the absolute reality, which is formless. This is an important thing. Avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavad bhiravapyate. For the one who is dehavad bhi, but dehavad means one who possesses a body. He will always find it easier to worship God with a body, which is a fact. We always think that everything else, we measure everything in according to our own rod, isn't it? He continues. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. tu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyena yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. They, however, who sarvani karmani mai sanyasya, see just now what was being spoken about, they bhaktas, devotees, worshippers, upasakas they are called. It's a Sanskrit terminology. Upasakas, worshippers. Those who worship Bhagavan with form and those who worship Bhagavan without form. Now, karmani. He's gone back to karma now. Karma yoga. Please remember I told you, this chapter, while it is the last chapter in the section on bhakti yoga, it is not exclusively bhakti. No part of Gita is exclusively any one thing. Predominantly we say. So predominantly is of bhakti. So otherwise, people, you start talking about bhaktas, those who worship Bhagavan with form, without form, then somebody will immediately say, what about those who do karma for Bhagavan? Seva. Somebody will ask. He said, ye too, however, those people, sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha, those who hold me supreme and they renounce all actions to me, means dedicate all actions to me, ananyena yogena mam dhyayantu upasate, and they meditate on me, concentrate their minds on me, and have ananya yoga. Ananya yoga, I explained this many times. The feeling of no separation between ourselves and God. Not that I am here, God is there somewhere in the sky or something. And God and I are one. Those people, tesham aham samudharta mrityu samsara sagara. I become the uplifter. Samudharta means the uplifter. I lift them out of what? Mrityu samsara. Sagar is an ocean of death. What a characterization of life. Life is an ocean of death. क्या बात है? See Bhagavan's characterization. Life is an ocean of death. Don't cry. That is not supposed to make you cry, it's supposed to wake you up. Life is an ocean of death. Mai eva mana adhatsva mai buddhim niveshaya. Having set their mind and their intellect on me, what will happen to them? He says, the conclusion of all those verses come in next verse. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. We had chanted the verse before. Mai eva bhavami nachidat partham maya veshisa chetasam. I become their uplifter quickly. Oh, my dear Partha. Who? Those who have their mind given to me. Mai eva mana adharsva, keeping their mind centered on me. Mai buddhim niveshaya, and letting their intellects enter me only. Then what happened? Nivasishyasi mai eva. They come to me only. They enter me only. Ata urdhvam na samshaya. And there is no iota of doubt about this thing. Those who give their mind and intellect to me, those who means all their emotion, mind and intellect means one now. All their emotions they have for me. Good or bad. Doesn't matter what type of emotion. If you get angry with Bhagavan. That also is good. If you have to hate Bhagavan. So Ravan is to do that now. And Ravan get moksha. The only thing is that you get a lot of sorrow before you get moksha. Any emotion, positive or negative. I have that with Bhagavan only. So that means the mind is with the Lord. Any intellectual operation, you do it with Bhagavan in mind. Bhagavan in mind, see what we say. Bhagavan in intellect. English phrase, you see. Means only concentrating on the Lord. Mai buddhim niveshaya. Then nivasishyasi mai eva. The person will enter me for sure. Means come merge with me for sure. Now, this section, please remember, started with Mai Sarvani Karmani. Yetu Sarvani Karmani, Mai Sanyasya Matparaha. Those who do all karmas and they dedicate it to me. That's how the section started, right? Now, Bhagavan is such a wonderful teacher. You know, let me tell you something. That's why Bhagavan is Bhagavan. I really do have the patience of Bhagavan. That's why he is Bhagavan and I am? Yes, I am I. I am me? What is correct English? I am I.
Should be I am I, but
I am I. This is English. Anyway, I tell you, this Bhagavan thinks about every possibility. What if a person can't do that? Work and dedicate all the work to Bhagavan, keeping the mind and intellect on Bhagavan. All the time. What if he can't do? Well, Bhagavan slows down. I say, okay, if you can't do that, well, now listen more. He says, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Tathachittam samadhatum na shaktoshe maye sthiram. Abhyasa yogena mamechhaptum dhananjaya. कृष्ण कन्हैया लाल की जय। अथ चित्तम समाधातुम न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम। If you are not able to keep your mind firmly fixed in me, then my dear, abhyasa yogena tataha mamichhaptum dhananjaya. My dear Arjuna, go on practicing. Abhyasa yogena. Go on practicing. Mamichhaptum, desiring me. Because you are good at desiring. Human beings are good at desiring. Whole day only desire. So practice desiring me. Right now you are good at desiring also the worldly things. Practice desiring Bhagavan. Abhyasa yogena tataha mamichhaptum dhananjaya. But Prabhu, what if I can't practice that now? See, I tell you how patient this Bhagavan has to have. Some people ask this type of question all the time, you know. You see, you have to develop detachment. Detach yourself from this thing. Detach yourself from that thing. Then they go, Swamiji, how to develop detachment? Well, they know we all have to drop it. You just have to drop it. But people ask how to do that too. So Bhagavan had to go in circles there like that. So I can't practice that. Abhyase api asamartha. I don't have what it takes to practice also. Asamartha, no strength, no willpower, no nothing to practice, no ability to practice. Then Bhagavan says, mat karma paramaha bhava. It means you okay. Because what is required here, mai sarvani, yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya mat paraha. What is required there is while you are doing your work, you are doing it and remembering Bhagavan all the time. Right? But suppose he cannot do that. He says, alright, go and do the work, don't remember me at all. Do what you're doing. Whatever it is. But at the end of the day, at least, sit down and say, okay, Bhagavan, I didn't remember you, I was doing it, but now I remember you, I do it all for you. After you don't do it, while doing it, yourself, the ideal thing is while doing it, I'm doing it for you, whatever you're doing. But if you can't do that, remembering him all the time, then at least at the end of the day, mat paramaha bhava, you sit down and say, okay, I did it for you. Mat artham api karmani kurvan siddhim avapsasi. Means to say, by doing like this also, slowly you will be able to come to realize him all the time. That is the practice. At least at the end of the day, if you remember. Once, Narad Muni, Devarshi Narad, he see Bhagavan looking at a farmer and Bhagavan doing prostration to the farmer. And so Narad think, but where is this? I am Devarishi Narad, Muni, Narad Muni. And I the one who will be saying Narayan, Narayan whole day. Narayan, Narayan, Narayan all the time I say. And when Bhagavan see me, he wrote. And this farmer, who does say no Narayan, nothing. Bhagavan prostrated from distance doing salutations to that farmer. So Narad said, Prabhu, तो ये क्या है? आपने क्या किया? अनर्थ हो गया. Injustice has happened there. What the real devotee was saying Narayan, Narayan all the time, you have to know salutation to him. That farmer, he going in his garden day. He say no Narayan, no. You doing salutations? Bhagavan told Narad, let me go look at this farmer a little bit. So two of them came there and hid themselves and they watched. This farmer worked whole day and in the evening time only sit down there and he said, Krishna Arpanam. Krishna Arpanam. Only in the evening, because all day busy doing the farming. So they look and they come back. So Narad says, "Oh, where is that? Where take me to see they?" He only sent Krishna Arpanam one time in the evening. And whole day I say Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. What is you are showing me nothing? My question still there. He say, okay. Bhagavan tell Narayan. They take the diya, I gave him a diya. I want you to fill it with oil and light it. You must be full to the brim with oil, right? And light it. And I want you to walk around this here Vaikuntha. Walk around this Vaikuntha and come back. And you mustn't let one drop of oil spill. If one drop of oil spill, you fail. So Narad say, wait, that is a simple thing. I Narad after all. To walk with that diya in your hand, I doing that all the time. So you fill it to the brim now and you put a wick there and you light it also. And you walk around Vaikuntha and you come back after a few hours. Bhagavan looked at the diya. He say, the oil intact? Narad say, yeah, the oil there, none have fall. Oh, you sure none have fall? None have fall? No. He said, oh, now I want to ask you a question. Why do you concentrating on that flame, on that diya, that time? I wonder how much time you remember me that time. He said, Prabhu, no time. Then he catches himself. I didn't remember even once, Even once he didn't remember him. That farmer still remember me in the evening. That's why I do salutation to the farmer, not you. Because you only go in Narayan, you don't really remember, you only saying. Yeah, and he's so busy with the whole day's work, taking care of family and everybody there, but he still had time to remember me once. You only get preoccupied with one thing. He had to think about so many things. You only get preoccupied with one thing, and you don't even remember me once. What are you thinking about? Not failing. He wasn't thinking about Bhagavan. He's thinking about passing. So, even if we remember that Lord once in the evening, with great faith, devotion and all, paraya shraddhaya. This chapter starts with this thing. Great devotion and faith. That thing, Bhagavan says, siddham vapsyasi. You will gain that state of perfection. I mean, you will find yourself well on the way to moksha. That is the idea. Siddham vapsyasi. Athaitadapya ashaktah asi kartum madhyogam ashritah sarva karma phalatyagam tasa kruyatatmavan. If you are unable to do that even, you go on working. Go on working, and try to practice renouncing the fruits of your action. I mean, you said, don't be attached to the fruits of your action. That only. Sarva karma phalatyagam. He didn't say you devote or dedicate the fruits to me. You just detach yourself from the fruit. Go on working. Forget about me now. Even down he coming for the devotee who is not capable of doing anything, thinking about Bhagavan at all. You don't think about me, even there no thinking about me in this line. Just you do your work and don't attach yourself to the result. Bas. Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat. Jnanat dhyanam in this line ends up with saying karma phalatyag, renunciation of the results, supersedes even meditation. That also doesn't sound correct. Because in 6th chapter we saw meditation is the highest sadhana. You see? So again, when you see that now, 6th chapter is meditation is the highest sadhana. Now you say karma phalatya, renunciation of the results is the highest sadhana, supersedes even meditation. That of course you have to understand and interpret in the sense of it is said to be higher because if it applies to 95% of the people, well then it's better. Isn't it? If 95% of the people can renounce the results as opposed to 5% only who could meditate, Then which is better? There's in Bhagavad Gita also, the greater amount of happiness for the greater amount of people. That's why we say in Sanatana Dharma, for the survival of the family, we can sacrifice one member of the family, because the greater family is better say greater number than this one. So sacrifice one. For the village, we could sacrifice one family. For the nation, we sacrifice a whole village, because the nation is greater. Like that. This is the idea in Sanatana Dharma, the ideal. So here now, Shreya hui jnanam abhyasat. Greater than the jnana abhyas, the practice of knowledge, is dhyanam, meditation. So greater than practicing this meditation and this knowledge, acquiring knowledge and all God the time reflecting and pondering on this Atma Jnana and all, meditation. It supersedes. But it said, dhyanat karma phala tyagaha. The renunciation of karma, results of karma, is greater than even meditation, because this is what most people can do. Tyagat shanti anantaram. From tyag, this line stands by itself many times. We are often quoted this pada. Tyagat shanti anantaram. From tyag, shanti comes immediately. Immediately. From tyag, shanti comes. If anybody can drop something immediately your mind will have happiness. People's misery and anguish and sorrow and all disappointment, all things, is because they have no tyag. The mind cannot drop things. The mind takes a small stupid. That will come in there again in 16th chapter. It will come in 14th chapter also. Just now. Tamasic mind. It takes the smallest thing, 18th chapter. It takes the smallest, most insignificant, stupid thing and makes a world out of it. And the mind gets taken up with that thing and cannot leave it. And that makes that person miserable. Like, you know what we're talking about? Yeah. Welcome to human stupidity. That's what we do. We get A class in that. So tyagat shanti anantara, quickly, immediately peace, joy, happiness follows from tyag. You drop anything, leave it. I couldn't care less. Yeah. You know, in Trinidad we have kiskiri. Well, you have to see kiskiri attack a chicken hawk. Yeah. Nowadays, I don't know if you see still, but I know as a child, I used to enjoy these things, you know. You have to see kiskiri attack a chicken hawk. Them kiskiri are very good at maneuvering and like this, right? Can maneuver very well. And this chicken hawk and them floppy fellas, you know. Yeah, tamastic like anything. That chicken hawk 5 times bigger than his kiskiri, or more. 10 times bigger. But because he sloppy, you know, he poo high like anything, that fellow, clumsy, you know. He come in, that little kiskiri will pounce on he. So he come in with a piece of meat in his mouth. Chicken hawk. You could imagine what kind of meat. So about 5 kiskiri pound out. 1 is enough for he, 5 of them pounds on he. From all sides. Then what? He tried to fight them off for a little while because he's bigger, Tried to fight them off in size advantage, but after becoming exhausted and bewildered, totally battered by these 5 kiskiris, then finally let go of a piece of meat and he fired and take behind the piece of meat. Tyagat shanti anantara. From that tyag, shanti follows immediately. immediately. All kiskiri gone. But human beings, that kiskiri bite in he, pick in he, pounce in it like the monkey. Human being like the monkey. The Indian monkey trap. You know the Indian monkey trap? You make a big clay pot like this and with a small mouth on the top like this only. And you fill that whole pot with sand. Heavy gravel, boulder, sand kind of thing. And just one layer chana you put on the top. And you put it outside. Mr. Monkey comes and he puts his hand inside it and takes a nice handful of chana. Now that he has a fist, his hand can't come out from that pot now. And he pull in, pull in. No, and can't pull that heavy. Man just can't lift up a bucket of sand. What is little monkey go pull a bucket of sand? So the hunter come. There, quiet now. He started jumping more mad now. Damn, tap, tap. He getting beaten and he jumped, but he won't let go the chana. His human mind. It holds on to an idea, some foolishness attached to something, and he had the most sorrow in his life. Miserable all the time because of that same, but he won't let it go. Take blows. So the ability to tyaga shanti anantara, from tyag, great peace will come immediately. This is the idea. Huh? Now, that ends one section of chapter 12. Those who practice, they develop certain qualities. Lakshanas, qualities, traits, characteristics. So from the 13th verse onward, the lakshanas, trait, qualities of those saints and sages, mahatmas and sadhakas and siddha purushas and all of them, they are described. Siddhakasya lakshanani, sadhakasya sadhanani. It said the qualities which they exhibit, which they have acquired and which they exhibit, those qualities become our sadhana. Means to say that we are supposed to practice. If he has absence of hatred, the sage, now I am supposed to practice that. Absence of hatred. I mean, get rid of my hatred. Adveshta sarvabhutana maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankaraha. It will come from the next verse. We shall see that tomorrow.